Welcome to another episode of Leaders Under Crisis. Today we'll be interviewing Miguel Soler, Director at Yellow, regarding the ongoing situation of COVID-19. Hi Miguel, thanks for taking the time to answer a few of our questions. So I'll go straight to the first question. Can you speak to us a bit about Yellow and how the COVID-19 pandemic impacted the organization in terms of human resources?
Definitely. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me and interviewing me. I think it's a very exciting time for myself, especially just to spread the message of Yellow. Obviously, these are very trying circumstances for many businesses and individuals across the world, in fact. But last but not least, obviously, our country. And obviously going a bit more granularly, my Yellow family, which, have all these people who work with us, our colleagues. When you're talking about human resources, the resource and even calling people a resource is like something I'm not very fond of. They are a resource, but I wouldn't really think of people as kind of, something that can be allocated in certain ways. So definitely HR is an important aspect during this time. So we make sure we've obviously taken incentives to send people home through teleworking initiatives. Obviously, there has been a number of issues, obviously getting people used to an outside of office environment. However, I must say I am very pleased to note that all our employees and all the team at Yellow have been very, very well receptive to our measures that we've done in human resources. So I think that's a great positive, and it really enhances ourselves as a digital brand. Remember, as a company that is mainly in the information sector, I believe that we do need to move on with the times and be very innovative. And I think that should be an approach that our people should also take care of and look towards.
Right, great. Remote working and teleconferencing has become the norm today. How has this been working out for you? And do you think we're witnessing some kind of revolution?
I certainly believe so. I think teleworking has been tried and tested in the past. Even pre-COVID, those people who know me, I was discussing about the death of the office pre-COVID. I'm a firm believer in people, and I really believe that the right people, the right motivated people, do not need an office environment to carry out their day-to-day tasks. I mean, if you think about it, 20 years ago, what we're doing now would have been impossible. And today, what we're doing now through the interview, okay, not as great as through a laptop or desktop or a TV studio, would be able to do it on our phones. So in the past, you'd need, let's say, a massive computer, or let's go back half a century, typewriters. Okay, you'd need an office, you'd need a lot of paperwork. We obviously have a paperless office. And now moving forward, we're also going to know as technology accelerates, and I believe COVID has been an instigator to accelerate the technology. You're going to obviously witness people working more on their phone. I mean, you start noticing it. Face-to-face meetings were obviously a requirement in the past. Nowadays, with the advent of 4G, potentially 5G now, and telephone, free calls, internet, these obviously have been great accelerators. The right people, I believe, do not require motivation, be in an office, just go into a meeting, do this, do that. I think the right people are always self-motivated to get their tasks done. Ultimately, we're a results-driven company. I think many companies are results-driven. We believe in actions, not words. Words are very important in terms of motivating your staff and obviously communicating your vision and message towards the employees. But ultimately, you give a task and you get it done. You can do it at 5 o'clock in the morning. You can do it wherever you want, as long as you get the task done appropriately. So I think, yes, a lot of businesses, obviously, in the sector like ours, it's much more easier. It's very difficult to say for other sectors, retail, many other sectors. I mean, teleworking is kind of impossible. You actually need that physical presence. But I believe maybe potentially gaming, which is a large industry in Malta, they can move to remote working. I mean, if you think about it, the gaming companies established in Malta primarily don't serve the local market in terms of their customer base. So they can always telework, remote work, and we're also going to witness the reduction in business travel, at least for the next couple of years. Um, we can't really say how long this COVID-19 pandemic is going to last, but I'm pretty certain that a number of people will still remain fearful of traveling.
But do you think the workforce in general has adapted to this way of working, or are they still some people finding it hard?
That would be very interesting, and maybe there could be a MaltaToday survey on it, really and truly. I don't believe there was one, so that's a good product idea for you. Uh, I can say from our company, from our perspective, now we employ more than 50 people with us. It has been generally a very positive experience. We get a lot of feedback from our employees. There are some people even telling me, "Oh, after this COVID, can I continue working home?" I mean, as a customer-facing business, as you know, we sell advertising products online primarily. Obviously, for the last 20 years, we were selling the publication, the Yellow Pages directory, which is obviously synonymous with online publication, with print publications. Now moving forward, we've gone to a digital model, but we have also retained our professional sales force that is always there, ready for the customer's needs. Our sales force is a customer facing, a client facing. So if anyone's interested in purchasing any online advertising products from Yellow, we will always send a representative over to you. So that has obviously a bulk of our workforce actually aren't in the office and haven't been in the office for many years. Obviously, they come here for meetings, but the less we see them in the office, the better, because it means they're doing their jobs. But yes, I think within our industry, the information industry, I think we've adapted quite well.
Okay. Unfortunately, some people have been put on reduced hours. Do you think this scenario will be weeding out any inefficient workers?
No, you can't really say, because I think it depends on sector to sector. Weeding out inefficient workers. Now there are a number of inefficient workers in the market. However, I primarily believe in the free market, and I really truly believe that there's going to be a proper allocation of labor resources towards the correct industries. So I think it's going to be a very interesting scenario post-COVID. I mean, we had full employment figures, close to full employment figures for a number of years now, and we've seen, full employment within the economy, which is a very great thing. It's very rare to occur in any country in any time. So we could see what we call natural unemployment, from the reduced hours. However, I think today is the 27th of May, so I don't know when this video will be published. I can't exactly say how quick the recovery is going to be. However, preliminary indications, obviously, since we're opening the country slowly again, I personally believe, well, I can't really say, I'd be very presumptuous to do so, but I personally believe that the economy is slowly but surely going back into rhythm. Obviously, it's going to be a local economy. A majority of our workforce are employed in the public sector, but we have also a very big amount of people working in the tourism and hospitality sector, which unfortunately have been the worst hit sector. However, just to touch on this point about being the worst hit sector, so this was a whole debate going on within the business community. You got, the government coming out with the Annex A and the Annex B. There have been a number of discussions about it, saying, why are we discriminating certain industries from the others? I believe even the media outlets have done the same thing. Honestly, in my opinion, it's a circular economy. Meaning, if there is no income coming from hospitality or the tourist trade, other industries are also going to fall back. So the aid or potential aid should not discriminate, because this is what you call a multiplier effect. So the less people that are coming into the country, spending money, going out to restaurants, going out to hotels, means these restaurants and hotels are going to have less revenue streams in order to invest in more people, invest in new technologies, invest in construction, maybe catering for new apartment complexes, new hotel complexes. So this is obviously a larger concern overall. However, the indications seem to state that the economy is going to a more V-shaped recovery. You can't really say that for the time being. I think there are people who are more qualified than myself to say so. However, from my experience and background in economics, I think we could be going on to a recovery. It is going to be difficult. The world economy is globalized. There's been a lot of economic policies, a lot of debt. Thankfully, Malta's finances are in very good conditions. However, the whole world supply chain and demand disruptions, it's all integrated. And there was a saying in the past: if America sneezes, the world catches a cold. Now China decided to sneeze, and the whole world has caught this massive pandemic. So we're all integrated supply chain. Within 2 months, the whole world economy was shut down. So one must remember that, weeding out a lot of these workers. So getting back to the question of reduced hours, yes, there will be, but I don't believe in Malta particularly that there will be inefficient workers in the workforce. There will be some national unemployment, which could be healthy, because I believe many business owners were experiencing the same issues that we were experiencing prior to COVID in hiring the right people. It was very difficult to find people who were willing to come and join various companies. It's not only our sector; it was every single sector. So let's see how it goes.
Okay, so what can companies do to adapt their business model to reduce costs both short term and in medium term? And what are you doing?
I mean, primarily, I would say that cutting costs might be the wrong strategy right now, especially since we're looking at quite a good recovery curve. However, yes, and this actually goes back into the question of teleworking. Okay, one of the biggest overheads businesses do have, indeed, is maintaining and renting offices. Okay, if you're a large company, you can go into six figures just renting and maintaining the office annually. So if we're talking about cost cutting, okay, that's not a short to medium term solution. That's more of a long term solution, but I think it's a very important solution. Um, for the short and medium term, I'm not a firm believer in cost cutting. I am a firm believer in obviously having result orientated individuals working with us, and it should be within the market. So if there are people who obviously not giving their 100%, there's no point to have them on board anymore. Obviously, generally speaking, the majority of companies' overheads are workers, are skilled workers, or maybe non-skilled workers. Within our industry, it's very difficult to really say, okay, we're going to do cost cutting measures on workers, because these are all skilled workers and they really do add very big value to our customers and to our users. So as a company, and getting back to the point of how can businesses adapt, we've obviously seen a massive jump to e-commerce platforms, which is obviously something that is primarily as being Malta's number one search tool for searching products and services. As a local company that promotes local products and services, we're obviously pleased to see that, because we're seeing the importance of digital. We are the only company in Malta within the media sphere or advertising sphere to completely disassociate ourselves from print. Okay, we spent over 20 years printing and publishing the Yellow Pages directory, and we obviously took the bold decision last year to say this is the last book, because we truly believe that digital economy is a growing one and it's here to stay. Okay, um, I truly believe that COVID has taught a lesson to businesses that online presence is very, very important. You must have online presence. And from our end as a business, we obviously cater for those products and services for online presence at a very, very advantageous rates. We're here to connect buyers and sellers together through our digital platform, and we have a plethora of new products being launched in the next couple of weeks. It depends when this interview is published online. Um, Primarily, our website shall be upgraded through offering what we call a carousel. Carousel is essentially a system where business owners and advertising partners of ours will be able to list their products and prices. So we're obviously giving another e-commerce solution. Obviously, we're not going into distribution. I believe there's so many different companies that are going into distribution technologies, which I believe the market is quite saturated from that end. Again, giving businesses a place to showcase their products online. So we obviously launch creating a 360 multi-platform model. So we're obviously very excited about what we're doing, and this is something that COVID has brought along. To accelerate, obviously we're planning to launch these products later on, but since COVID has came along, we obviously had to scrap all our plans, and I hope other businesses have done it, and I've seen it, and it's great to see the ingenuity and innovation of the Maltese business community to launch products properly and that are relevant to the market. And this is what we're doing. We're here to bring buyers and sellers together. We are very strong on Google search. Typically we get 10,000 visits to our site on a daily basis. We're planning to increase that, and we're planning to give many SMEs exposure on our site through these new features. And obviously, as rather than going into too much depth about it, we'll be obviously launching some communications over the coming weeks as to what exactly we have in planned. It doesn't only stop there. We're also launching social media packages for customers, which should be very interesting, bringing buyers and sellers together through Facebook as well. Facebook is obviously a market dominator when it comes to online usage. Sometimes maybe it could be a sad reflection of our society, but I believe there are maybe certain demographics within our country where people spend more time on Facebook than they actually are spending talking to people, or actually spending more time on Facebook than actually living normal life. I mean, okay, maybe not to that extreme, but it is a very important tool for businesses to be on, most definitely, and we want to cater for that.
Do you think it will be easy, or how hard will it be for businesses to recover from demand disruption?
It depends on the industry. I genuinely believe depends on how big the businesses are. There are some public companies in Malta as well, which are rather large in the leisure industry and construction industry, and essentially these companies have a wealth of finance and bond backing. So I think in terms of hedging a financial pitfall over just a couple of months, or maybe how long it's going to last for, I think they will survive. I think a lot of businesses will survive through this. I think initially during the beginning of the pandemic, there was a lot of panic. I was saying, oh, what's going to happen now? I'm going to pay my bills, even as individuals, but obviously as companies. As a company employing 50 people, we obviously feel the pressure to want to provide to our employees and to want to make sure that they have a job to support their families, because for every employee you are employing, there's maybe another four dependents on them. So that's obviously a very important social consideration. Demand disruption varies from industry to industry. I mean, if you see the demand for restaurants, it's been a very hit and miss solution, because restaurants could make use of services whereby they can deliver the products to customers at home. So maybe there wasn't that much of a demand disruption. Some restaurants that were maybe not as quick to get on to the online platforms in order for them to facilitate deliveries maybe fell back. There's obviously a number of articles in the media saying, problems with landlords and rents. But ultimately, I think the government, if we're looking at the government and what the government has done, I think the government has done sufficiently well in catering for all these demand disruptions. There's been a lot of economic support, which obviously the business community did deserve after so many years. The private sector is the provider of all. Without the private sector, you cannot pay the frontline care workers that we are clapping to. You can't, these educators, teachers, nurses, doctors, these are people who rely on public funds, and they obviously provide essential services. Without a strong private sector supported by the government, especially when there's demand disruption, we can't even have these, public services through the welfare state. So it's extremely important that the government created these measures to ensure that demand disruption isn't felt as much. E-commerce obviously was a great hit for a number of businesses, for them to start selling their products and services online. The government is now opening the country slowly with prudence. As time of speaking, the cases are going down on a daily basis. You can never say, but this is the reality we are here today. And I think businesses can recover quite quickly if they are smart. If they adopted a lean a lean approach to the way they are doing business, and if they obviously made use of all the government support that was provided, coupled with insistence on online presence to make sure that people searching online find you, yes, they will obviously make themselves out of it. I mean, another thing I would like to mention is obviously there was the financial crisis in 2009. Now, I can't really gauge if this is a worse financial crisis or not. It's still too early. Um, in 2009, there was demand disruption, but not to this extent. So the recovery may be greater. There might be an accelerated recovery or it might keep on going. You just don't know. So in 2009, companies were still investing in advertising products, online presence products, in order for them to get their message across. Now more than ever, is it important for businesses to differentiate themselves. Now competition is very fierce online. Now competition is obviously moved, and obviously as we open more, people are going to everyone wants that human element. It's not only just shopping online. Um, they want to differentiate themselves from their competitors. So, importantly speaking, demand disruption is obviously a factor, but I think the resilience of the Maltese business community is going to shine through.
You've mentioned that there's a lot of competition, but do you see winners and losers in this situation, or do you think it will soon be business as usual?
I truly believe that the losers are the ones who aren't able to adapt quickly to changing market trends. If you are a business owner and you see this massive storm of COVID-19, you want to take this threat of COVID-19 and make it into an opportunity. You want to make sure that your products or services can be sold online, or they can find ways to cater your normal customer base who aren't able to come into your shop anymore. I think the losers are those, unfortunately, who are maybe slow to react. And now more than ever before, it's extremely important for fast reactions. I mean, even today, during the digital world, you've got the internet, you've got a lot of competition. I mean, Amazon is a growing empire, which is threatening a lot of local businesses, and it's only going to grow. So local businesses really, really um, need to step up and become winners out of it. I truly believe, with the right mentality and mind frame and strategies in place, that local companies can all be winners. I mean, as a human race, also as a country, we've always been resilient to change. We've always managed to go above the call of duty and find ways out of it. And Maltese people are very well known to be innovators. Um, I think the right people and the right companies will adopt correct strategies that are relevant to the market. But unfortunately, those companies that fail to heed the warning and the change that is coming, because also post-COVID, the world is going to be maybe there's this phrase of new normal. Yes, there will be new normal, but I think as we go forward, people will start going about their daily lives as they used to be. However, with a very important difference being the importance of online commerce. And I think we've really witnessed a revolution. I think normally Malta, we have a saying, that Malta is maybe 5 years behind a number of countries. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think we've really grown strides, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic. I think as a company, that is where we've positioned ourselves. I mean, we published the last directory last year, the last book, and now we are fully digital and fully committed to offering online presence packages through our platform. And we really implore business owners and to make use of services. I'm not saying only our service, but any online services that allow them and facilitate them to connect with their buyers.
Okay, so let's turn to the role of a business leader. What mindset should a business leader be equipped with in times like these, and what are you doing personally to stay focused and positive during these times?
That's an interesting question. I think let's start with the mindset. I think the mindset has to be fearless. If you are going to run around in fear and panic from the situation that has arisen from COVID-19, you're not going to be able to efficiently lead and communicate your course of action during this crisis. Remaining calm, remaining cool is extremely important as a leader. I mean, whilst also making sure that you hold the space and you're communicating your messages. As a leader, obviously communication is key. You spend most of your time dealing with people. It's all people management. Obviously strategy, but getting your message across to your colleagues. Uh, that is the right mindset. You have to be fearless. You have to go for it. You have to say, listen, this is what I've been given. Let's not cry over spilt milk. Let's just move forward. Uh, and I think that's the right mentality. I think that's what constitutes a great leader. And you have to walk the talk as well. You have to lead through example too. So personally, I think what do I do to make myself well? I'm an avid podcast reader, listener, so I stay listening to podcasts on various subjects. It helps me sleep. Um, I read books. I mean, I'm a major consumer of news, both local and internationally, obviously to see what's going on. I've kind of reduced my media consumption recently. I think it's just been bad news constantly, and it's kind of when I told you about being a leader, you have to be fearless. If you're just gonna stay looking at all these horrible news articles, going on, and the world is ending and all those things, although it's been a bit more positive recently, I have to say, you can't expose yourself to those things because it can have maybe mental health effects. And I truly believe that the mental health effects of COVID-19, rather than the virus itself, of the lockdowns, of people losing their jobs, I think that is something that really needs to be addressed and looked at. So yes, I go for walks as well. I like talking to my family. I keep myself grounded. I read. I think it's very important to maybe as obviously I'm not going out. I'm going to restaurants. Not doing my normal routine. But I'm using it as a time to build myself. And to make sure I can carry out my duties and my responsibilities effectively.
That looks like you're doing well. So for my final question, it goes out saying that the pandemic has affected not only businesses but also the community. Do you think maybe now is a time for businesses to step up and offer some solutions to the community?
I mean, speaking the brutally speaking, a business is there primarily to deliver profit to its shareholders. And that is the way it is, and that's what a business is. It's a profit-driven enterprise. Uh, Obviously, there are some companies such as ours that value stakeholder input. It's not just about the profit. We don't look at the bottom line only, which is important, obviously. I think right now is not a time as a business to think about bottom line, but about safeguarding the interest of all the stakeholders within a business. Um, I think there have been a number of initiatives that other companies have adopted, donations to charitable institutions. Let us remember that. It's very easy for me to say, from my position where I am, I have this business, I have a business, successful business, and start saying, oh, what can I do, and saying, I should do more and I should do more. I think it's just about actions. So CSR is very important. I think it's not just now; it should be always. Um, I think it's about showing what your principles are. I think people when they buy, they like to know when they buy your product or service that the person they're purchasing from is a good person. And I think that's inherently an important business principle. So it also benefits business to give back to the community as well. So when we are going from that aspect. Um, Us at Yellow around 2 months ago, if I can recall correctly, we donated €1,000 to Caritas. I delivered food supplies myself to Caritas, San Blas, and a number of disadvantaged families and church institutions. Um, Rather than just giving €1,000 and saying, here, do what you will, we actually went ahead and said, listen, this is our budget. We want to give you this. We'll go and buy everything from you, for you, and come deliver it to your doorstep. So that was an initiative that we took as a company, and we said, listen, we're always worrying about, helping healthcare workers and helping all our civil workers and obviously people's jobs, which is very important. But there are also disadvantaged members of society who are being forgotten right now, and let us not forget them. And that is what this is what we should be doing in business to make sure that it's not just about profit. It's about helping the community as a whole. And yes, helping the community is by offering a good product and service that you're selling to customers at a good price. That's a good offer to the community. But at the same time, you must give back. And I think it shows the importance of ethics within the business sphere. And I think COVID-19, pre-COVID-19, post-COVID-19, during COVID-19, I think that companies should really give back to the community.
Thank you very much for the interview. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Thank you very much for having me. Just as a concluding statement, I mean, we all know as individuals that this has been a trying time for all of us. I implore, and I really implore people to support local businesses at this time. It's part of our current advertising campaign across multiple platforms to support local businesses, discover local businesses, and these they are the backbone. The private sector, the small business owner, the entrepreneur is the backbone of our country, and we should really be there to support local businesses and ultimately get out of this together, as we have done a great job, I believe, together as a country, pulling through together. But I really encourage the public at large and the business community to support local businesses and discover local businesses. Thank you.
So that was Miguel Soler, Director at Yellow, speaking to us about the current situation of work and its expected future. See you again for a new episode of Leaders Under Crisis.